Hello everyone and welcome to One Controller for Quick Play of Ruruli Ra Rura, a NEC PC-FX game. If you don't know what NEC PC-FX is, basically a Japanese-only CD-based console that came out in the early to mid 90s. And Ruruli Ra Rura is kind of a I guess you could call it an action. I don't know if platform is the right word. It's more of an exploration game more than anything, but there are action elements to this game as you kind of like walk around the environments and stuff like that. And looking this game up, the two things I saw about it where people either thought it was a bad game or they got stuck and couldn't finish it. So both of those things, I could definitely see why people came to those conclusions and why people had trouble finishing it. And we'll talk a little bit about you know what would kind of prevent you from getting further in this game. But a couple things to get out of the way here real quick. I have burned this copy of this game. This is one of those more expensive PC-FX titles. So if there's any kind of stutteriness to the cutscenes or any kind of weird technical issues, that's very likely that's just a problem with me, playing this game in an unofficial capacity. I also wonder if the load times are also longer too, because some of the gameplay I saw online, the load times seem about half as long, but they also I may have been running on emulator, so they may not be reflective of the actual game either. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. You see a pretty basic menu here, and like a lot of PC-FX games, this game, I won't say it's cutscene heavy, but it is very much built around these cutscenes. So a lot of the major events in this game will trigger some sort of animation to play out. And in this case, with this game, it's pretty lighthearted. Most of the cutscenes have some humor to it. You can see right there that dude just like jumped in the air and became a tiny man there for a second. So this is kind of how all the storytelling gets told. It's a little weird because sometimes the CG cuts or the animated cutscenes don't necessarily line up with like where you are in the environment at times. But it gets the point across what the story is. Basically, there's this dude that you're trying to hunt down for some reason. I honestly don't know why. He's like an evil wizard dude. And then you go around and you basically are meeting different people to kind of help you defeat this wizard guy. So you start out as this samurai man. You have the ability to jump, you can punch, and as you can see, like combat in this game maybe not the most engaging thing. And at the start we have a pretty simple set of skills here, but as we go on, we'll get new equipment and new abilities for each character, and we will steadily increase the number of characters we have. And in some ways, you could view this as like a metroidvania, like, hey, here's this pool of water over here, and if I jump, you can see there's like land on the other side, and hey, guess what? At some point, you get somebody who can help you, swim across that water. And then, so most of the game, the purpose is to find these little treasure chests. And when you pick them up, you get a little pop-up that says, what it is. It's actually in English, even if you're playing the Japanese version of the game. I saw there was like some kind of fan translation, but I think it's only like for certain menu elements. So you can see right here, we're blocked, so we can't go down here right now, so we'll need to find a way to remove that. The level design is this very, and here's some like ice blocks or something, but the level design is very, it reminds me a little bit of like single screen arcade games to some extent. In terms of the design, there's not a lot of like it's not like a very natural looking background. It's this very, very like maze-like configuration. Sometimes the enemies will get like stuck on the ceiling like you saw right there, so you can kind of come up there and like punch them. Those little blue orbs are for magic points. So you can see as we approach this crystal here, it goes ahead and starts a cutscene. We find our first companion here, who is a mage lady essentially, and we're not actually gonna get her right now. We have to go do something else first. But a lot of these cutscenes, like every time you meet somebody, it's this very like goofy interaction. This lady is maybe a little extra. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but she's goofy. The main character has some fun reactions and seems to frequently be the butt of a lot of physical abuse at times. And these are just like fun little interstitials here. I don't think the fan translation translates these cutscenes at all, so I don't think you could play this in English if you want to at this point. I could be wrong about that. I didn't actually check the fan translation. But, you know, I don't think the story is important enough for you to really need to worry too much about what's happening. You just can just enjoy the interactions and just kind of move on from there. So, you know, in this case, this is one of the few characters that when we first meet them, we don't just get them immediately. We actually have to come back and help her. So we're going to go down here. You can see down there, there's like this weird looking bat down there. And I'm going to, and I don't know if I've mentioned it earlier, but you know, I can jump. I can't jump up here right now, but each character has different movement sets and stuff. So some characters can actually just jump right up there without climbing the steps. So we're gonna come down here, and this bat is a boss fight, and these are some weird looking boss fights. It's like this very Donkey Kong Country looking encounter, but your character's still like the Super Nintendo sprite. Sometimes you can like climb up onto certain background elements too. So like there'll be like a tree you can climb up and hit things. All right, we beat the bat. I will not say the boss fights in this game are they're not very challenging. So I would not expect too much trouble with the boss fights themselves. So we get our new item here. In this case, this item actually does have a cutscene too. This is not common. Usually you'll just get the item. This is just an early cutscenes, you know, kind of introducing what's going on here. Here's the Dark Magician Man. So I don't really know why we don't like this man, why we need to fight him, but you know, he's evil. He's got a red eye on his staff. That's probably bad. So even though we had a sword already in our sprite and on his character, apparently this is the special sword of that is the one we can actually use. don't worry too much about it though. But the sword's not good enough. Oh no. But yeah, I mean, and this is kind of what you expect with a lot of like PC-FX games, but I do feel like the game itself doesn't, you know, doesn't have quite the presentation as other PC-FX games. It does look very simple. I recently was talking to Filler, also known as Playongo, and he mentioned this game feels very like Dojin game-like, which is like, you know, a Japanese indie game. And outside of these cutscenes, I can definitely see that. Oh no. All right. So we met Dark Magician Man. Now it's time to move on. I would show you some parts later in this game, but as far as I can tell, there's only one save file. So us starting this game has pretty much doomed us to the beginning of this game. So there, we got our sword. One of the few items that doesn't have an actual name. So now we have the ability to cut. So you're like, hey, I want to cut the ice. Guess what? You can't. Okay. So, and this is kind of where part of the problem of this game is at times it's kind of, and this is why I think a lot of people get stuck with this game. It's hard to tell what you can and can't do with your new items. Let's see if we can jump this gap real quick. Yeah, what did we get? Got a potion. It's hard to tell, you know, what new items do in terms of unlocking new paths. And this isn't too much of a problem right now, but with this mage lady in particular, it does become a little problematic because she has the ability to learn, I think it's at least 6 spells, maybe up to like 8 or 9. And each of those spells can open up different passages. And I'll switch to the mage lady here real quick so you can see why that's kind of problematic. Because she has the keys to a lot of these doors in the spells she casts, but she's also probably the most difficult character to kind of navigate the world with. I do like her a lot, but as the cast gets bigger, you know, the green hair guy and this lady are kind of, I would say, the central characters of this game. But as the cast gets bigger, there's definitely less and less like spotlight time for certain characters. Some characters show up for like 2 cutscenes and then you don't really get anything out of them. But it's not really a story-heavy game, so you know I wouldn't worry too much about it. So, anyways, now that we have our new friend, you can't change who you're playing as at any point. So you actually have to go back to camp. So if you saw at the beginning of the level, we had this little like tent with a cross on it. So we can pop up this menu, and there's various things we can do on this menu. One is we can open this menu, which basically, if you don't know, the PC-FX has 3 buttons on the bottom labeled 1, 2, and 3. And then on the top, we have 3 buttons named 4, 5, and 6. So as you get items and as you get spells, you can equip certain spells and items to these slots. Actually, I'll be able to just show you that when I pick up, I don't know, Reinesu? I don't know what that name is. I don't want to think about it right now. So we can actually assign a fireball to her 4 button. So, you know, in getting the fireball, you might be like, oh, that's like... And you can see just how slow she is. She is very slow. Her attack does 1 damage. Sometimes it does 0 damage. I just healed myself on accident. But she has this little punch. So, and a lot of characters are kind of like this where they don't have a lot of offensive capabilities. So there you go. We burned that water there, or that ice there. They don't have a lot of defense capabilities and don't have a lot of maneuverability. So a lot of times it's just like managing damage and trying to, you know, escape enemies. Because even casting my fireball takes time. So these guys are jumping around and I'm just going to take damage. That's just the reality of the situation. Because actually fighting back would just be significantly harder. So I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, let me... Ah! All right. Switch back over to the other dude. So a lot of the characters come down to mitigating damage, unless you're like a character like the samurai guy who can actually offend for himself. Come on, get up here. Yeah, there we go. All right. So anyway, so she melted that ice. I probably should have gone and melted more ice, but we're just gonna cut this wood now too. So that sword unlocked that wood path. Now, these early ones are fairly self-explanatory in terms of, you know, and I think we gotta get the mage lady down here. There's a lot of backtracking as you bring characters back to the same areas to open certain doors so you can go to new places. But, you know, these early ones are very straightforward, but some of the later ones, like, for example, there's a stack of crates, and you need to get the crates out of the way. And so there's some characters that have the ability to, like, you know, punch things and things like that. But, you know, you have to go and just kind of try everything. But to switch characters, you have to go all the way back to camp. So if camp's far away from, like, a place you're trying to figure out how to get through, you have to walk all the way back, transfer into that character, and then walk all the way back to the place where you can actually use that ability. And with the case of, like, that mage, she's super slow and super vulnerable. And it's just really hard to conserve your resources if you don't know where you're going and what you're trying to do. So with that box of crates, the way you get past it is you cast a lightning bolt on it, which at least for me is not a very logical thing. Like, I wouldn't really, you know, outside of all the spells I have, fire, ice, I forget what the other one is. Lightning is definitely one of them. There's also like some explosive ones too, I think. But, you know, I kind of think explosive would be the one I would think that would actually clear that path, and maybe it does. I haven't actually tried it, but lightning at the time, or thunderbolt, whatever it is what you actually use to get past that crate. And there's a lot of stuff like that in the game where it's just not super clear what you need. Like one is like a tornado you have to walk through, and the only way to get through the tornado is to have a character have a ribbon, which is like, why a ribbon? What does that even what does that have anything to do with anything? So as you can see right there, we couldn't really do anything here with this character. So what we actually have to do is we have to go get the other girl again, and we got to open up some of these ice paths so we can actually get up here. So a lot of this game is going to be you exploring further, usually with a character that can actually defend themselves, so they're not going to, you know, just immediately die. But then once you find out what you have to do, you need to go back to your camp and then grab who you need to make it work, or to get past that. This game technically has limited resources. So, you know, all those treasure chests down there, well, I guess not really, because enemies will drop potions and stuff too. But you know, you do collect like potions and mana potions. So you do have to be careful about, like, you know, how you spend your magic and health. But I will say it never was really a problem per se. I never ran out of magic potions or health, even though I was kind of just walking around exploring. All right, I think there's some ice over this way, so let's go. Yeah, there we go. And like, she can use that fireball to attack things. It's just the time it takes to cast it and the amount of damage it does, you know, isn't very effective. So So I don't want it to sound like she can't defend herself at all, but a lot of this game is you know, just learning routes, learning how to get around. See, we have another camp here, so we can go ahead and transform at this place now. Especially when you get to new areas, there's usually like some kind of camp at the start. Okay, we got ourselves a life potion. You also can collect items that power up individual characters. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't think we've gotten any so far. I think we've only gotten potions, but there are items that will heal specific characters as well as give them some power up stuff. Let me see. I'm pretty sure that's just like health potion and like magical potion there. Oh, I almost forgot that treasure chest. Getting those treasure chests is absolutely key to this game because they can carry items that you need to progress. So really, this game is identifying treasure chests and finding out how to get to them. That is the majority of this game. In some ways, you can think of it like a Metroidvania, where you're kind of like unlocking different characters and different skills for characters, and that will let you get past different areas, and also like enhance characters' capabilities. As you saw earlier, I can use this dude's sword attack to fight enemies now, and it's not the most like effective attack at times. You just got to kind of like pick and choose what the best way to attack an enemy is. This is definitely better for like faster enemies, because if you use like the sword, there's like a delay on it. So, but the sword does more damage, in a single strike at the very least. Come on, put me down. There we go. So in talking about, why people think this game is bad, I think a lot of it is because your characters are very limited in how they move. So I think we just got a few spells there. Oh, parts. That's actually an upgrade part for a character way down the line. It's kind of weird that you get that so early in the game. But like cases like this, if I want to try to hit these spiders, I'm kind of not going to be able to avoid taking damage. There's kind of a expectation that you're going to eat some damage on your character. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because they do give you the resources to deal with that. You're supposed to be spending your potions and your magical drinks. But I do think there's like there's always a feeling in games where you're like expected to take damage that doesn't feel great, because you're like, you want to be able to play through a game without losing resources. Okay, we got another boss here. You ready? Bam. More Donkey Kong Country. So I think that's probably part of why is that people are like, it's so hard to move and it's so hard to fight enemies. The boss fights are very simple, and I'm not going to say that this game plays amazingly or anything like that, but I think the fun in the game is more the exploration, not the combat so much. It's about exploring this world, learning how each of these characters kind of handle these different environments and how they can help you get through. All right, so we got another character here for us. So we get another cutscene. This is maybe the most useless character in the game. He swims us through that pond at the beginning, and then he does a jump at some point. And I don't think he ever gets any attack capabilities. So he's pretty much just like a sitting duck if you're actually using him. A lot of these characters are very specific to what you need them to do. So some of them feel a little underutilized, like this frog guy. You will stick to characters like, green hair samurai man. I like that little scene where the lighter comes out of the staff. I assume she's pretending to not be able to cast, so she doesn't have to actually free this frog initially, because she seems to hate frogs. But this frog seems to love her. But yeah, it's definitely a game where you're learning these characters, how they work, and what their capabilities are, and that's a lot of the fun in this game, I would say. In terms of getting stuck, though, one thing I personally would recommend, and this is what I ended up doing, was, play as much of it as you can on your own. Explore the environment. Oh, God. Oh, I don't want to die. Explore the environment, and if you die, you go back to the last campsite, the last time you were there. It basically saves every time you go to the campsite. Okay, so let's use okay, so we got one of those enhancing items. So I don't know what this is called, but not only does it heal us, you can see we get a power up, so we do more damage now. So before I was doing 18 damage, I think, so now I'm doing 24. So they're like little level up things for your characters. And then the health and the potions. I think the health potions and the mana actually increases your maximum potion and or health and mana too. So it's useful to use all of them outside of just, you know, just healing if you want to like upgrade your character. So let's see. So we got the frog. So we'll go ahead and head left. Usually you'd want to like kind of completely explore these areas, but for the sake of this, you know, showing you this game, we'll just kind of move along for now. But like I was saying, I think you should, you know, explore as much as you can on your own. I think that's the funnest thing you can do. And then if you get absolutely stuck, especially as you start getting down to like the last few areas of the game, sometimes there's just like a treasure chest somewhere that you have no idea where it is. And let's see if I can bait these guys down here. Oh no, I didn't mean to fall. You know, but yeah, it's like here we go. But, you know, once you start getting stuck and once it gets to the point where it's like, I don't know where any treasure chests are at this point, my recommendation is go look up the long play on YouTube of this game. There's not like a written guide as far as I can tell for this game, but the long play on YouTube, you can kind of follow along and see, you know, what you need to do to get around the environment. Like I said, certain obstacles have kind of weird requirements that aren't necessarily obvious. So, all right. So there's some things like this where like we can see this treasure chest at this point, but I'm pretty sure it's not until like way later in the game that we can reach. Oh, we did get that one actually, but I don't think we can like get up here right now. You can kind of abuse different characters' abilities to get to places you aren't really supposed to get to yet. There's one character that I don't think is really supposed to be able to jump between this ladder and that ledge, but is still capable of doing so, because there's like a weird like hole you have to open up on the other side. Sometimes it also can tell what you can platform on. Like you can actually climb up this. It's not very clear that you can do this, but you can. Also, like the hitbox on this thing is really weird. I think if you get up here, like it's way wider than it should be, if I recall correctly. Yeah, like we're standing quite a bit higher. And there's like some things like this rooftop here, I don't think is actually solid. But when you get to the very top, the rooftop is solid. So it's not very consistent. Yeah, so we just follow through it there. But I'm not sure if I'll actually be able to reach this rooftop up here. But you know, we can try. Oh boy, oh boy. The jump in this game is a little difficult because you always jump forward. So you have to recorrect and jump yourself backwards if you want to correct your trajectory here. Oh god. So yeah, there's cases like, I think that like brick wall there, you can see that. I think that it is also gotten rid of with the fireball, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me that the fireball would break that, but it also like breaks the ice or something. I mean, at this point in the game, you have so few resources, it's very easy to just like say, well, yeah, so this part of the roof is solid. You can't jump up here or across here, but you can get up here. But yeah, there's so few resources this early on. It's not hard to just kind of try everything. But once you get later in the game, when your mage lady has like 9 spells but can only equip 3 of them at a time, it's a pain having to like, you know, continue to go up, try every spell on something, then go back, try again with a different set of spells, and then go back and be like, actually, this mage lady isn't who I needed at all for this. I needed somebody else that I don't have yet. So there is that trial and error aspect to this game. At least, you know, if you're playing this in English. There isn't a lot of, like, descriptive text in this game as far as I can tell, so I'd imagine in Japanese you don't have that much more information. But you can think about the fact that, like, you know, with the manual or something, it might give, like, it might have a hint in there that's like, hey, the ribbon lets you go through a tornado, and, like, tells you why that makes sense. You know, but in burning the game, I don't have the manual. Also, I don't, you know, speak Japanese, so... So it's not like I would be able to, you know, tell that anyways. I just have to like point my camera translation. So you can see right here, here's the boss, and it's like cool. I can't get there with the mage or with the samurai man, so I have to go back and get it with the mage. But as you can see, as we climbed up here, there is a lot of enemies on the way here. Like look at all that, and the mage is not really capable of defending herself. So. This is kind of one of those parts of the game where you gotta mitigate as much as you can. So I can kill these guys, but they're just gonna respawn. You know, I can't just like, you know, send this guy in first to clear the way and then go switch to the mage and come back. So let me get down here. Ooh. I find jumping to be faster in this game. Depends on the character, I think, but usually makes more sense to jump. Okay. So we gotta switch to our mage here so we can break that wall away. While we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can upgrade my health or something. We gotta power up. Let's upgrade our health too. A couple times. Normally I wouldn't do this, but you know, for the sake of just trying to get up here without dying, we'll try this. So we have our one. You know what? We might have more spells. Let's see if we have more spells at this point. All right, get over there. No, that's the character swap screen. Whoops, I switched to the wrong guy on accident. All right. And like I said, these loading times, they might be due to me burning the game, so I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be too hard on this game for being kind of chunky. You know, some games like Ojo-sama Susomu, I was pretty hard on that game because it is, you know, I was trying to jump over him, but there's like a roof here. But like Ojo-sama Susomu on the PC-FX does have a lot of loading issues, and you know, possibly those loading issues are extended because, like, say, my laser on my PC-FX is, you know, over 20 years old at this point. so like, it is possible that it doesn't work as well as it did, you know, back in 1996. But I think most people are probably going to be using the original laser in their PC-FX. So we kind of looked out there where we were able to kind of just get past them without having to fight them. So we just got a platform over here. It's smart to just like wait and let people drop down if you can. There's also like, yeah, some ledges there. You can see I kind of like fell into the ledge, which was kind of weird. So here's the thing now though. So we're gonna blast this wall open, and we have two choices. We can go fight this guy with her, which would be suicide, so we're not. But you don't know that per se. So like the first time I fought him, I did go try with her, and then I had to like redo this whole sequence with her. So it's just like, there's a lot of times where you end up having to backtrack or something. Okay, I kind of, so this is where I was kind of talking about like this being a bit more evasive at times, where you don't want to fight. You want to, you know, get yourself in a position that you can, you know, hopefully minimize your damage. We're not going to do that here, unfortunately, but, you know, we tried. All right. No EXP in this game as far as I can tell. Everything in terms of upgrade is all just like item based. So, all right, so we're gonna crawl back down. And because we opened that passageway, that also means we now need to go back here and get the green hair dude. So it's a lot of this kind of stuff usually. But we are going to be able to see another character up here in a second. So you know, this is not a long game. It took me, you know, and using that long play on YouTube that's about 2 hours long to like help me when I got stuck and couldn't figure out what I was doing. It took me probably about like 2 to 3 hours to finish this game. It's not a long game at all. And you know, when you think about like PC-FX games and their playability, usually when I think about playable PC-FX games for like Westerners who don't know Japanese, I think of Kishin Zenki, I think of Chip Chan Kick, or what's that game called? Zeroigar, the top-down shooter. This game kind of falls in that between that thing where it is very playable as a Westerner, and you know, like you can see when I pick up items and stuff, it's all in English when I pick up items. But you know, the difficulty to figure out, you know, where you should be going at times, and you know what should be you know, used to open certain paths might, you know, knowing Japanese may or may not play a factor in that. I don't really know for sure. But there's not a lot of text in this game, so, but it is a little difficult to get through because of that, like, you know, incoherent solutions at times. So I would probably put this a little bit closer to like a Team Innocent in terms of playability, where it's like you totally can play Team Innocent without knowing Japanese, but you might need a little bit of help from like an external resource or something. So if you are looking for playable PC-FX games, I do think I jumped over it. I do think this is a very worthwhile game to look into. You know, maybe not buy it because it's so expensive. But if you're looking for a PC-FX game, you can actually like sit down and play, and it's not going to be like, you know, 2 hours of you looking at a character portrait while they talk. You know, this is one of those games that you can. And these cutscenes are very animated. You can pretty much figure out that this frog man is a pervert, and is basically just harassing everybody. So, but each character is very straightforward and very stereotypical in how they behave. There's not a lot of in-depth character development happening here. So this person is, I think she's kind of like I guess you'd call it like a rogue in some ways. She's one of the faster characters in the game. She does have the ability to actually do like a dash, but it does consume magic points to do that. She's also one of the more stronger fighters in this game too. She doesn't have a lot of like special abilities related to fighting. Like the samurai guy, he has the ability to do a bunch of like crazy attacks once you like find his proper power-ups. But the lady is more. I was hoping I could get back up there and try to get that treasure chest again, but it's no biggie. I already beat this game. I don't need to go get that chest. But you know, she gets a lot of like very useful skills, and that's kind of the important thing is that like whenever you get a character, they have their base moveset that's useful. But as you collect stuff, they get more and more uses. Like she can throw a shuriken. At some point, not right now, she can, use this like ribbon that she attacks enemies with. But for now, she basically does this like little kick. I think she also has like a punch of some sort too. And then she has like a dash that she can use. I can kind of show you the dash here real quick. It's like that. It's for faster movement. It also lets you climb over or walk over like, I don't know what you would call it, like kind of half pass through platforms, like platforms that you wouldn't be able to normally stand on. She can kind of like dash over them. I don't know why that like, oh yeah, she has like a weird attack too where she like hits things like crazy for some reason. So we found a treasure chest here. We got ourselves a Ogi Seiyu. So like, yeah, sometimes you get past me, you're not gonna know what it is, but also she is hurting real bad. Also that dash does not work well on slopes. Do not try to use it on a slope. I'm gonna go and heal her up. We'll go ahead and use a magic potion to get her her MP back. It's very Castlevania-like when you're walking up those like staircases. You can't really like jump on them. Ugh, there we go. Like you can't really jump off them or anything. You're kind of stuck here. You can't attack either. You can't get hurt on them either, I don't think. So you're fairly safe. But like if a bunch of enemies are piling up at the top or bottom of a ramp, you don't have really any like maneuverability to get around them. So you just gotta kind of take the damage. If you run into them. So here's like kind of a weird thing here. As you can see, as we're going here, there's like this like platform doesn't really match correctly, and when you're walking this way, you kind of hit these trees, and these trees are solid. And you see there's like that floor there, and if you add a keen eye here, you can see there's actually like a little path down there, and eventually you get a character who can kind of climb through trees, so they're able to get through there. And we can go collect the item that's down there. But that little brick set down there is not actually solid. So it's just kind of, sometimes there's inconsistencies in the background and where you can stand and where you can't. So you like will fall down here. So here's that tornado. And so she laughs when you touch it. I don't know if that's supposed to be your hint. That she's supposed to be the one to get through there eventually. I also have a flame here. You have an ice spell in this game, but hey, ice spell does not work there actually. You just have to get somebody with basically flame-resistant armor to walk through it. And then here's some barrels, and these barrels you can't like destroy normally. You have to use explosive magic. So there's just a very strict set of rules behind how you can get through these obstacles. And so sometimes like something may not make the most sense, but okay, here we go. So something may not make the most sense, but also things that might make sense might not work too. So it's just kind of inconsistent. So like I said, if you get stuck, I would probably encourage you to just kind of, move on with your life. Don't worry too much about it. So, yeah. So I definitely could play more of this game, but I think I've more or less kind of showed you what it is. It's kind of like this exploration platformer thing with some action elements. I think it's cool. I think it's pretty charming. Is it the best playing game on the PC-FX? No. Is it the best playing should you run out of your way to play this game? I think if you're interested in the PC-FX, yeah. I think if you're looking for, oh yeah. And so now that the water's there, I still have to change back to the frog to go through it. it's nothing like super great. I'm not going to say this is a great game, but I think it is interesting, and it does kind of invoke that Metroidvania style of like having to unlock different pieces of equipment, different characters that have different skill sets, and then keeping that in mind and exploring the environment and recognizing where you can use those characters to kind of get around, and some of them are not always so simple. Sometimes there's actually a fairly complicated path to get somewhere, so you will need to sometimes use a character who is maybe like this frog dude and has no way of defending himself, and so you have to take the time to avoid getting hit rather than being able to fight back. And I think that's not going to be for everyone probably, but I think it's a fun thing that is worth looking at if you have a particular interest in the PC-FX and especially very playable games on the PC-FX, or maybe more game-like games is the right way to put it. Like, kind of one thing, and I'll go ahead and just plug it now. I recently did a podcast with Filler or Playongo on YouTube, also known as Matt, about the PC-FX and the type of games that are on the system. And what a lot of people think is like, hey, it's a bunch of visual novels, and I was definitely guilty of that too. So yeah, she can jump up here. I was definitely guilty of that too for a long time, being like, oh, this is a platform filled with story-based games. And that's there are a lot of text-heavy games on the platform, and this is one of the ones that are not. I think the kind of the defining feature of this game. And so if you are looking for something on the PC-FX, that isn't going to be like I have to sit here and stare at a bunch of talking heads for a long time and not really know what they're saying, but it's still going to be able to try to get through the game. This game doesn't require you to do that, but there is still trial and error in this game as you kind of figure out what items are used for where and things like that. So I would definitely say, oh no, see, so I had to bring the samurai man back to cut this log, and then I had to bring the mage up here to blow up the bricks. So we had to make multiple trips back up here with a different character. So it's stuff like that you just gotta have patience, and it would have been nice to be able to change characters on the fly. I think that would be the big improvement I would suggest if like they were trying to make a Ruruli Ra 2, or if somebody was trying to remake this game today for some reason. But if you have the patience for it, I think it's worth looking at on the PC-FX itself. Anyways. But like I said, that podcast, if you're curious to find out more about the PC-FX as a whole, if this is your first time looking at a PC-FX game, the system has a pretty interesting library, very 90s anime inspired, and it's not just all visual novels. There's a lot of games with a lot of interesting concepts behind them that maybe don't translate super well into like what you would normally think for retro games in America, but for Japan and looking at what Japanese computers are doing and what you can find on like the PC Engine CD and things like that, I think the PC-FX is an interesting console in that regard. So I'll go ahead and link that video that podcast at the end of this video. Otherwise, thanks for coming. Wonkshow.com is the website, and yeah, that's it. I hope you have a great week. Bye.